if you're trying to check if a character in a string is a number, there's a couple ways you could do it. If we take a look at this ASCII table, and what is ASCII? It's a numeric representation of every character on your keyboard, and this is actually the way that your computer understands the letter A, right? Because the computer only has on and off, and then on and off is converted into binary, and then binary is converted into decimal, and then each character on the keyboard has a corresponding decimal representation, and that's the ASCII value. So if we take a look at that and we click here, you could see here all of the keys on the keyboard and the corresponding ASCII values, right? These are their ASCII decimal values. And you can notice here that capital A is 65, and we work our way down the alphabet, and capital Z is 90. And then you could also notice that lowercase a is 97 and lowercase z is 122. So that's pretty much all we need to know. There are going to be questions that depend on your knowledge of the ASCII values of characters on the exam. So it would be a good practice to remember this one here, that 0 is 48, that A is 65, and that lowercase a is 97, because that's the key to finding the ASCII values of all the other characters, right? You could just like add 1 to 65 to get capital B and so on, right, as you work your way down. So now how do we use this knowledge to check if our characters are numbers, right? Well, first of all, we need to iterate through the array, right? And we need to iterate through the string, and the way you could do that is by doing this. So let's say we have this string S. How do we iterate through each of these characters? Well, we have a for loop that goes from 0 up to s.length. That's how many characters are in the string. And then we say this variable, this char variable, is going to be equal to string.character at I. And the first iteration of the for loop, I is going to be 0. So it's going to get that character, return that period. C is going to be equal to that period. The next iteration, the call to char at is going to give you char at of 1, and that's going to give you this character, and so on as you work your way through the length of the string, right? So now that we're able to iterate through the string, well, we want to not have char C be equal to a letter, right? A character. We want it to be equal to the ASCII value. And so the way that you do that is, maybe I could type it up here. The way that you do that is pretty simple. You just say like int x, some variable that's an int, is equal to, and you typecast the C as an int. This converts it into an ASCII value, right? This converts this character into an ASCII value. So now that we've converted it into an ASCII value, we can drop that. We can use that value in an if statement to check if it is a character, right? And so if we look over here, you can say if that character's ASCII value is greater than or equal to 65 and less than or equal to 90, then we know it's a capital letter. Or the ASCII value is greater than or equal to 97 and less than or equal to 122, then we know it's a lowercase letter. And so that's how you can tell if each character is a letter or something that's not a letter. An alternative way to get that done is by, no, that's not right. An alternative way to get that done is to use string.contains, right? And so how does that work? Well, if we were over here, no, this is not right. Okay. Well, the way that this is going to work is, let's see if there's an example here. Contains. Okay, no, I don't have it. Well, what we can do here is, so we're going to say string.contains, and we have the letter C, where C is the character, right? Well, what does contains do? It checks if this character is found in this string somewhere, right? And so that string needs to be equal to every possible letter in the alphabet, So capital A, capital B, C, and so on, and then lowercase a, b, c, and so on until you get to z. So what this is going to do is it's going to return true if this character is found in this string. Basically, it's going to return. This is going to return true if C is a letter of the alphabet, uppercase or lowercase. Right? And then we can use that in an if statement, and we could say if that's true, then we're going to return true. Right? Else return false. And that's another way to do it. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other ways to do it, but those are the first two that come to mind. The way that it works with programming and something you want to understand is there are always, I don't want to say always, but usually, most of the time, many ways to get the job done, right? And this is a couple of ways you could do it.